Good afternoon. My name is Layla Durstein. I know many of you in this audience, and for those of you I don't, I actually want to begin with a really quick personal story. When I was in college, I was lucky enough to be able to study abroad and to participate in service learning. These experiential education opportunities transformed how I saw the world and how I wanted to engage within it, and put me on a path to working in higher education, first in international education, and then alumni travel and lifelong learning for about 14 years. I now have the pleasure of serving all of you as Executive Director of Alumni Relations here at Williams, and I'm so grateful for the ways experiential education opened up my professional pathways, and more importantly, my mind and my worldview. And I really believe that Williams does experiential education so well. And many of you are probably familiar with the legacy of Gaudino. We're celebrating 50 years of Gaudino this year. And so for these reasons, I'm really delighted to introduce today's session and our speakers, professionals and students that too believe in the power of experiential education, and they're here to talk with you about the impact of this type of special learning experience. Before we get started, a quick bit of housekeeping. So we have a full slate of programming, events, and class camaraderie in store for you. And if you need anything at all during this weekend, our dedicated team is here for you. Don't hesitate to ask for something that would make your weekend better, except for better weather. That's always up to the Williamstown weather gods, so we can't order that up. And just, you heard this in the previous session if you were here, just a reminder that we're recording sessions this weekend. So if you ask a question, you will be part of the recording. And so with that, I want to welcome our speakers, Jen Swoap, Associate Director for the Center of Learning in Action, Tom Van Winkle, Executive Director of Williams Mystic, the Coastal and Ocean Studies Program of Williams College and Mystic Seaport, and Jennifer French, Rosenburg Professor of Environmental Studies and Spanish, Chair of Global Studies, and she's heading up Global Scholars. We are also joined by some very incredible students today, and you're going to get to meet them shortly. So please, with that, join me in warmly welcoming today's speakers to our stage.
Hello, I am Jen Swoap from the Center for Learning in Action, and we, at CLiA, we're all about learning through doing. We work locally in Williamstown and in the larger area of Berkshire County and the state of Massachusetts. From the photos here, you can see that Williams students are getting out into the community. We work with local nonprofits, things like Habitat for Humanity, Berkshire Food Project, the Humane Society, local institutions like our healthcare providers, Berkshire Medical Center and Southwestern Vermont Medical Center. We also have Williams students engaging in local schools. We have 8 local schools where we have robust partnerships, and Williams students get out there to engage with youth. And the effort of these Williams students is really a great boon to our community. We're so fortunate to have them and their energy. CLiA's mission is to cultivate and sustain experiential learning opportunities, both curricular and co-curricular. We prioritize community-engaged scholarship, which consists of academic fieldwork placements and faculty-led research. These are collaborative research and creative projects that contribute to the public good. So an example of a course would be Econ 22, which is the volunteer income tax course that last year was led by Professor Bill Gentry. And this past year, Williams students in this course helped 121 local families secure over $300,000 in federal and state income tax refunds. This 20-year-old program is also serving as the foundation for the new Williams Financial Literacy Initiative, which is tapping both an alum, so thank you alums for your contributions, and a community volunteer to serve as pro bono consultants to help Williams students gain skills for a lifetime of financial well-being. For examples of research projects, we have some lovely students that we'll be hearing from that will share about work that they have done. Science research is one focus, and the Northern Tier Passenger Rail Restoration Project is another. So CLiA's team takes a collaborative and continuous learning approach, working with faculty and a wide range of community organizations, student groups, and campus partners. And we provide students with hands-on learning opportunities to address pressing civic problems. This past year, over 100 courses involved experiential learning. For example, we had 2 different public health courses where 11 teams of Williams students were engaging in research and improvement projects with some local community partners, including ECU Healthcare, the Roots Teen Center, Berkshire Bounty, and the Sweetwood Senior Independent Living Community. We also have a lot of volunteer and paid pathways for students where we collaborate with over 50 local nonprofits. One of these areas that's particularly well attended or has a lot of interest from Williams students is over 300 students that work in K-12 education. These students do things like support local youth with tutoring, they teach science lessons during the school day, and they share a passion they might have in an after-school enrichment program. We also have over 500 students working with other community organizations. A newer program has been the Senior Center Technology Tutoring Group. So last year, we had over 80 Williams students who were working, and they ran 20 very popular sessions for local elders to help with technology. Another example is EAF Votes, and this is a nonpartisan student civic engagement group, and they ran a voting registration drive last year, and they co-hosted presidential primary candidate debate watch parties to prepare for the election. So to do all of this good work, we need to get students out into the community. And so last year we have CLiA vans that students drive, and they put over 15,000 miles on them, getting out and about. So CLiA supports the connection of students to the community in many different areas. Students work in wide-ranging ways. They share their talents and their energy in volunteer service, and also through sustained work on social justice projects in partnership with community organizations. When students engage with a real-world community partner, they often change their views and transform themselves. So with us today, we have 3 Williams students to share stories of how they have engaged with the community. First up, we have Chris Flores. He's a first-generation college student entering his senior year at Williams. Chris is majoring in chemistry and biology with a concentration in public health. He is a researcher, completing a thesis in the Holland Lab on plant metabolism. And as a former JA recipient of the Grosvenor Cup, congratulations, Chris, and co-chair of the First Student Union, Chris prides himself in community building and advocacy throughout his time at Williams.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm very proud to be presenting to you today the work that we have done so far, which is, as part of the Holland Lab, part of our research grant with the National Science Foundation includes a section about giving back to society. Because at the end of the day, which this has been really internalized in public health, and I'll get to that in a second, at the end of the day, of all this work and research and so forth, what do we do with it? The now what? Well, as part of our research, we actually go out to local schools, especially in rural Vermont, out in Pownell, and we work with 5th graders to teach them about the scientific method. As you can see here, I'm helping a student create a bird feeder for our weeks-long experiments to see if birds actually like the seeds that we have for them. Because part of our research includes coding seeds, for the research that we're teaching the students, we're testing whether birds like grape Kool-Aid or not. Because funny enough, while we as humans love grape, birds do not. The flavoring that's used for grape is a chemical that actually is a bird repellent. So while we may be loving our grape Kool-Aid, the birds are actually quite afraid of it. So here we were preparing our experiments to come check on them later, see how many of the seeds were eaten up, and we had the students learn, okay, let's build hypotheses, let's build with the hands-on skills using tools, let's build the bird feeders, build this critical thinking. Why do you think that the birds didn't like this? Why do you think these seeds went away? And fun fact, just as recently, research has its ups and downs for us here, it also went up and down for them because a bear ended up ruining one of the experiments. So bears also love grape just as much as we do. But part of that, again, is the now what, right? In true Williams fashion, I had a tutorial today about public health, and we had it on one of the new log benches that they've installed, so really part of the on-the-log curriculum. And in this conversation that we had today, our professor was really emphasizing, okay, we've done these academic research literature reviews, now what? What do we do with this, right? And again, it just brought me back to what we do in the Holland Lab in teaching these elementary schoolers how science works, how it functions, having representation in science, seeing that anyone can see themselves in science, the opportunity to get a career in this, and just, again, the power that is intellectualism, the power that is education, the power that is critical thinking, right? And for us to be able to empower these children through our collaboration with CLiA, it means so much to us. And again, as a first-generation college student, who I actually became an immigrant when I came to the US, and I naturalized here in Berkshire County. So without the community that I have here, without the support systems that we have for the community like CLiA, I can't imagine being as successful as we are here today. So if I have one thing to ask of you is to really keep moving forward and thinking about the now what. What are we doing with all the work that we have done, with all the learning we've gone, with all the education and things that we have accomplished at Williams? Now what? Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, next speaker we have is Louisa Coughlin. She's a senior, majoring in psychology and neuroscience. She is on the softball team and has taken several courses with fieldwork that engages with local youth. Biology 11, teaching third graders about zebrafish. Psychology 25, teaching and learning in the Berkshires. And Psych 332, children's math learning. So here's Louisa.
Hi, everyone. So as Jen just mentioned, I've participated in a few winter study courses that work with children and are through CLiA, and I've had the opportunity to take really interesting psychology classes about children, like last semester. So in this photo you can see, this was taken my sophomore year. I did BioEyes, which is a really cool winter study course where we go to various elementary schools in the area, and we get to teach about the life cycle of a zebrafish. And it's really nice because we get to formulate a plan, so it's not only kind of educating ourselves on how we can educate the youth, but also being able to carry out the plan and help kids learn more about science, and as Chris was mentioning, see themselves as scientists, learn about creating a hypothesis, and learning how to carry out experiments. And again, as Chris was mentioning, there are ups and downs, a lot of confusion about microscopes and how one uses a microscope, and can I put my finger under there and see anything through the microscope? So hopefully, if we taught them anything, it's about the microscopes. Let me slide forward here now. Okay, yes, another picture from BioEyes, and you can see we had a lot of fun drawing fish. And then last year for my winter study, it was called Adventures in Learning, so I was matched with a first grade class at Williamstown Elementary School, and I was basically like a teaching assistant. You know, those teachers there are angels. They put in a lot of hard work and effort to create curriculums and classes for their students. And so I was just really excited to have the opportunity to work closely with students, like younger kids, which is something I find interesting in psychology, which paired nicely with my children and math learning class last semester as well. And I think, too, something that's great about Williams and the opportunities here is that there's just such a great local community. I remember last semester for softball, we worked the concession stands while the basketball teams are playing. You know, there's always a little group of kids, you know, kids from the area, coaches, their kids, they come watch the games. A few of them come running up to the concession stands, and I'm like, hi. You know, it was a kid from my first grade class, and I look at this man who's with him, and he was like, oh, this is my dad. And I was like, Coach Brown, my lift coach? So, I love telling that story because it just shows how you can really immerse yourself and connect with the community that I wouldn't have otherwise have had the opportunity to do so. And it's great to see how we better their lives and we give them opportunities and kind of help teach them about science, which can be an intimidating subject, but it's not only great for them, but it's great for us. I love knowing that I've helped make a change and helped kids be more interested in science, and now those are connections I have that are just very important to me. Just a great example of what you can do at Williams for yourself and for the community. So yeah, again, like Chris was saying, CLiA is so amazing, and I think that everyone should try to take advantage of any opportunities they have to engage with the local community here. Thank you.
Thank you, Louisa. And for our last speaker, we have Stan Vasiliadis. He's a sophomore from Greece, serving as a public transit civic innovation leader. He and his colleague, Joanna Gentle, are advancing the restoration of passenger rail from North Adams to Boston through community engagement, public outreach, and legislative advocacy. Their work combines research with grassroots organizing to build broad support for this transformative infrastructure project. Here's Stan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Williams. Since we have alums from the class of 1953 onwards, I want to ask somebody, do you remember a train that was starting from Williamstown and going all the way to Boston? Oh, I see some hands. That's amazing. And the reality is that while most of us here at Williams have never seen a train going through, the reality is that until 1958, there used to be a passenger rail service that would get you from Williamstown all the way to Boston, Massachusetts in 3 hours and 10 minutes. And while we all love being in the Berkshires, the sad reality is that the lack of transit-oriented development is very detrimental for our region. Unfortunately, Berkshire County has had a declining population over the last census, and the median household income from western Massachusetts to the eastern Massachusetts is 30% lower. So what our team does is we're trying to find a way to create an accessible entrance to Berkshire and Franklin County. And with the support from over 100 entities in Berkshire County, a team of students from Williams and from other colleges in the region are trying to advocate for the restoration of passenger rail from North Adams to Boston. Through the help of the Center for Learning in Action, I had the great pleasure to participate both in outreach and legislative affairs with my colleague Joanna, who unfortunately couldn't make it here, and work towards work with the community in securing advocacy for the project. The picture you're seeing here is from a press conference last December in North Adams, in which we raised public support to call Governor Healy and advocate for the restoration of passenger rail. 3 months later, a group of students from Williams, MCLA, Northeastern University, and our fantastic support from the Center for Learning in Action met Governor Healy in Boston to discuss about the feasibility of the restoration project and get her support. This is one of the examples we're working on in helping the restoration of the project. But most importantly, students like me have worked in research over their academic interests to secure support for the project. This summer, over the Sentinels Fellowship, I had the chance to work in property value development through transit-oriented development by simulating the effects of the Amtrak Downeaster, a similar line in northern Maine. And this is just an example of how experiential learning can really affect the way we think about projects. Williams is an amazing education, but when you get to interact with the community, when you get to understand the different aspects that exist, you get to really experience what goes behind projects that improve the world we live in and help people outside in the Purple Valley and outside of it to get an access to this beautiful region that needs desperately some support from us. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan. So, That's it for our speakers. Thank you very much to all three of them. And at CLiA, we are looking forward to another exciting year of getting out in the community. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Tom Van Winkle. I am the Executive Director of Williams-Mystic, the coastal campus of Williams College. I want to shout out to, first of all, the class of '76 that was down at Williams-Mystic. Deb and others were with us earlier this month. And also the class of '75, because I think that is the first time the women were allowed here. Is that correct? All right. Talk about experiential learning at Williams College. I want to talk to you about Williams-Mystic, which has been in the Williams College ether since 1977. So those of you who are before 1977, you didn't experience it, but you may have experienced some of the individuals who founded our program. And I want to talk to you, we've been talking about experiential education. I want to talk to you about what is it that you think experiential education is? Just go ahead and shout out. What are some things that come to mind when you think of experiential education? What are we talking about?
Learning by doing.
Learning by doing?
Getting out of the classroom.
Getting out of the classroom? Internships? Hands-on. Okay. There's some good research out there that talks about the fact that a stand and deliver, that I am the keeper of knowledge and that you need to come to me to class where I will pour out my knowledge into you receptacles, that perhaps that isn't the most effective way to learn. There is room for that, but there are a lot of other strategies. I want to introduce to you the kind of learning that we have at Williams-Mystic, and I'm going to start with a very short video about Williams-Mystic so that you get a sense for what students do.
A semester at Williams-Mystic can mean so many things.
For me, it's about blending disciplines to understand climate change and finding ways to be part of the solution.
It's diving into Mystic Seaport's massive collection to do original research.
I'm studying the world's oceans and coasts while living at the country's largest maritime museum.
Williams-Mystic is about having honest conversations with community members and learning from their experiences.
It's learning a maritime craft from experienced artisans at Mystic Seaport.
It's exploring 1800s shipboard communities while aboard an actual ship from that era.
It's learning about myself while living cooperatively with others.
It's working with amazing faculty on original research while also getting to know them as people.
It's being part of a close community, enjoying the beauty of Mystic.
It's exploring questions about environmental justice and being a voice for change.
It's the indescribable feeling of being out in the water and underway on a boat.
It's exploring how I can play a role in shaping the future of our planet.
It's about building community and connecting with people who share my interests and even people with totally different ones.
It's being part of something bigger than myself. It's truly life-changing.
I was just listening to a podcast on the way up here from Mystic this morning that talked about the fact that there's research on the fact that joy has a lot to do. If you're having fun while you're learning, you actually retain that. Shocking, isn't it? So I want to just describe to you some of the things that, to give you in a nutshell, what Williams-Mystic is about. We are a one-semester study-away program, and we are open to not only Williams students, but students from other institutions. We are a partnership of two institutions, the Mystic Seaport Museum, which acts as our campus, and Williams College. We study 71% of the planet, because 71% of the planet is water. and 40% of the world's population lives within 10 miles of the coast. Every item of clothing that you're wearing right now probably came across the ocean on a ship. And so our world's economy and so on is connected to the sea. We may not think about it very often, but that is the case. You can see that what we are an interdisciplinary and experiential program, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what that means. But for those of you who are here before 1977, you may have had the professor, Benjamin W. Labrie. Is there anybody here who had a class from Ben Labrie? Okay, here at Williams? Yeah, so Ben had to give up his tenure because he wanted to found this program. That's a fairly significant thing in higher education, to give up your tenure, to take a risk. And he did that because people thought he was nuts to start a program at the Mystic Seaport Museum and leave the confines of Williams College here. And he did that. Now we have a little less than 2,000 alums from the last 97 semesters that have occurred at Williams Mystic. And we have a number of individuals who work in our area and work along the coasts and oceans, but in all kinds of different occupations across the world now, who were impacted by the program. You can see that it's open to all majors, and we're not a science-based program. We're, in fact, 3 out of 4 of the classes that students take are humanities-based classes. The courses you can see here, but I want you to think right now about your first or second semester here at Williams. What classes did you take? Can you name all of them? Okay? That's because this group that comes back and celebrates alumni reunion. So you're impressive. So as you think about those courses, I want you to think about what about those courses were connected with each other. And that, I would say to you, is probably a significant difference between a semester at Williams Mystic and a semester here at Williams. Because you are taking discrete courses when you're here at Williams College. You might be taking a math course, calculus, and you're taking an environmental studies 101. You might be taking, all different kinds of language, whatever. And the topics and issues that are discussed in those classes aren't necessarily connected. At Williams Mystic, they are all connected. And so when you are discussing something in literature, that's related to what's being discussed in science and talked about, and the research that's going on, and that's what's being talked about in marine policy, and that is being talked about in your English class as well. And so if you think about that, the way that happens is through the content that's delivered. And so where faculty here at Williams College have individual departments and disciplines, the faculty at Williams Mystic all represent different disciplines, but they meet together regularly. They plan together, they meet together, and they plan the curriculum together. Because we believe that the complex issues that individuals deal with at Williams Mystic, like climate change, coastal resilience, hardening our coasts so that they aren't destroyed by storms. These are all very complex issues that no single discipline can answer. And you need to be able to have the science communicated well to people who don't understand science. You need policymakers to believe the science. You need to have a historical understanding of what went on before and how that informs the future. That's the interdisciplinary nature of our experience. And then we ask our students to do original research. And so they are writing original history. They are writing policy briefs dealing with current controversial topics. They are doing original science research in the field. And so that's what our students are regularly involved in. Our campus is the museum, and I'm going to try to go through this rapidly. We also not only stay in Mystic, but we go on travel-based field seminars. And what we have realized is that PhD faculty are not the only individuals in the world who are keepers of knowledge. In fact, when we go to coastal communities, it is the community members who are usually the experts. And so we have developed relationships with individuals, and we continually work on these relationships so that these individuals are talking to us about what it is that is important to them in their community and what they know about the changing environment and so on. And so we just returned on Tuesday from a Maine-based field seminar, and I'll give you a little sense of what we did there. But the kinds of things that we are dealing with are relevant to today's world. And you can see that we are, I've talked about the first few bullets there. Students are discovering that there are equity issues in our coastal communities, and that not all communities are treated the same. And so they're studying that. They're meeting with those people and learning from them. We have developed strong relationships with tribal communities in southern Louisiana and also in Maine with the Passamaquoddy tribe. And so they are hearing about these issues and trying to figure out what is it that I can do, what do I need to understand in order to be able to communicate and understand, make good decisions. So we just got back from Maine, and I'm just going to tell you a little bit about that. So the first thing we did is we met with Janet Mills, the governor of Maine. And if you think about what's Maine known for? What comes to mind when you think of Maine? Lobster. So lobster, and believe it or not, Janet Mills talked about that. She said that the lobster industry is one of the most important industries in the state, especially for the coastal communities. It drives the economy there. And she said that as you go to these coastal communities, you should be thinking about that. We definitely were, and we met with individuals. And so experiential learning is you are hearing from those members. So we started with Janet Mills. She gave us the executive thinking about that, and then we went to different places in Maine. And so what should you do when you go study the lobster industry? Well, you ought to go meet with a lobster person. And so we did. And so we got aboard a lobster boat, and we pulled traps, and we learned about the issues related to what you can keep and what you cannot keep, and how it's important to V-notch. Does anybody know what V-notching is? Yes. Yes, so a V-notch is on the female as eggs, and so a lobster person's supposed to throw that back because that will help maintain and sustain the fishery. And so they learned all about that. And then the lobstermen started talking about the northern right whale and how he feels that the state statutes and the push on lobstermen is unfair because they feel that they've been targeted as a group responsible for killing northern right whales. And he put the blame on ships, cruise ships, and other Canadian ships, and said it's really their fault. We then met, so that raises questions. So we then met with the associate director of the Department of Marine Resources, who said, well, that's not entirely true. They are responsible. And so as you're hearing from me, you're getting the sense that our students are hearing from all different kinds of people about the complexities related to this, and everybody has an opinion. And it's our students who are absorbing all this information and then going back and deciding what it is they want to do for their own research. And so that's when we go on these experiences, we think about what is it that we want our students to be constantly thinking about and what guides their thinking. These guiding questions are the kinds of things that guide their thinking as we approach that. So Williams Mystic deals a lot with local community members. Here are some of the members that we have met with just this last week. And we feel that learning by doing, getting out there with the communities and realizing all the complexities involved will help our students come back and think more clearly to themselves. And I would be happy to talk further about this if we have time, but I want to preserve time because I know that we've got other people coming up here. So thank you very much.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer French. I am a professor of Spanish and Environmental Studies. I have the honor of serving as director of the Global Scholars Program. How many of you have heard of the Global Scholars Program? Oh, good. Quite a few. Excellent. It's a new initiative at Williams. This is our third year hosting students, having students in the program. So I'll tell you a little bit about the Global Scholars Program. I'll give you a brief director's eye view with an emphasis on how experiential learning is woven through the Global Scholars Program. And then we're joined by 4 seniors in the Global Scholars Program: Sarah Wang, Somya Shinde, Alex Ramirez, and Catherine Debenham. And I'll ask them to come up and speak to you about what the program has meant for them and to highlight some of their favorite and most transformative experiences in the program. I would add that Stan is one of ours too. Stan, who told you about the TRAIN initiative, is also a global scholar in the sophomore cohort. So Global Scholars, as you probably know, is an interdisciplinary, multi-year, research-based academic cohort. The students are trained beginning in their sophomore years to take on independent research projects. They pursue senior honors theses during their final year at Williams, and they pursue different kinds of independent and experiential learning along the line. The third, they have opportunities for travel. They have an emphasis on language study, both of which help the students, support the students in developing a global international outlook, a way to engage with the world productively, well beyond the purple bubble and our beloved Berkshire Valleys. They also have access to multi-year and regular internship that involves students within the Global Scholars Program, alumni of Williams College, and faculty members also. There are a small handful of academic requirements. So students enter the Global Scholars Program as first years. They apply for the program during February of their first year. We have a lot of applications. It is competitive. We select 12 students from every entering class, from every first year class, to become part of the Global Scholars Program. And the students who are chosen for the Global Scholars represent a wide variety of academic interests and disciplines ranging across all 3 divisions of the college. They're also interested in a wide range of geographies, various continents: Europe, the Americas, Asia, Africa, Australia. They have a very wide range of interests, and that is very much by design. As sophomores, they take an introduction to global studies, which is also an introductory seminar, Global Studies 151. The title of the course, Global Questions, Global Frameworks. The seminar has been taught in 3 different ways over the last 3 years. I had the pleasure of teaching it last year. Each time, a different faculty member teaches the course, and the course is designed so as to introduce the students to the field of global studies. So it's a critical interdisciplinary field, an approach to complex problems in the contemporary world. And then the second half of the course is designed so as to prepare the students for their upcoming winter study trip to a particular destination. Each cohort goes to a different global city led by the faculty member who taught the fall seminar. And as the students progress through the fall seminar, they are developing a proposal for their independent projects in during January, for that January trip. Students are required to have a very significant degree of foreign language competency. As a Spanish professor, that's something that's very important to me. It's something that the program as a whole has really embraced. We take language competency very, very seriously. And the students also do a research colloquium as seniors. As I mentioned, every global scholar is expected to graduate from Williams with honors in a particular field. That might be global studies, that might be a different major program, economics, environmental studies, comparative literature, Spanish, biology, chemistry, et cetera, et cetera. So who are the global scholars? This is just a brief snapshot of the languages, the academic majors, and the home regions, states, and countries that are represented in the Global Scholars Program. As you can see, the diversity is really remarkable and quite wonderful. 19 languages, 33 academic majors and concentrations, lots of states, lots of countries. It's a very, very rich and interesting group of students. This is, again, a snapshot. This is the mentoring structure for each of the students in the class of 2026. So the seniors who are here with me today are also represented on this slide. There were no senior students in the program when they came on board as global scholars, so each of them has a mentor, a student mentor with a particular interest in a designated part of the world and area of study. But the faculty mentor and the 2 alumni mentors has been a consistent part of the program. Our current sophomores and juniors have senior mentors within the Global Studies program. And finally, just a couple of quick images, the Global Issues Forums, which students in the program initiated a couple of years ago, global salons, and I have some subsequent images of the winter study trips. I'll leave off Paris because I know the students are excited to talk to you about their experience. When I led the trip last fall, when I taught the course last fall and then taught the winter study trip, my destination of choice was Santiago, Chile, and the students had a marvelous experience seeing the city and then undertaking independent research, internships in some cases, archival research, arts-based research. They were encouraged, really required to develop an independent, hands-on proposal with a lot of guidance from their faculty mentors, from their alumni mentors, from our network of colleagues and contacts on the ground in Santiago. Some of the students, quite a few of the students were involved in interviewing Chilenos about various areas of mutual interest. And they did just fascinating and very rich research proposals, research projects, which they presented to the wider Williams community, including in some cases their alumni mentors at the Spring Symposium in April. So that was a wonderful culmination to this sophomore's year. So I think I will pass the podium now to the seniors. Okay, you all want to come up or one by one and talk a little bit about your experiences in the program? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sarah, so I'm currently a senior. I major in history and concentrate in global studies. So I guess I'll talk about one of my highlights of the Global Scholars Program so far. As Professor French mentioned, we all take this introductory course about certain global issues, and it culminates with a trip to a certain city. And for our year, it was to Paris, and not only was it just an amazing experience to be in Paris, experiencing a new culture. A bunch of people in our cohort also speak French, so just getting that experiential learning as well. But we were able to visit so many different types of organizations and think tanks. We visited the OECD. We also talked with an organization called SOS Racisme that did research on racial discrimination within France. But my personal favorite as a history major, I'm very invested in archival research, so I was actually able to work with an archival center that focuses on preserving Armenian archives. And yeah, I think it really just got me thinking about what global identities mean, and also just more interested in learning about these pathways of migration and displacement, particularly for Armenian communities and other marginalized communities across history. I think this question has become particularly important. And so yeah, now as a senior, I will be conducting a global studies thesis on the construction of Western humanitarian aid towards Armenian communities before the Armenian genocide. And so a lot of my research interests were actually propelled by this trip to Paris and getting to talk with the archival center. So yeah, it was a very impactful opportunity. And I'll pass it on to Sonia.
Yeah, that was the Paris trip, just to give you a bit of a visual image. That was us at the UNESCO in the top right for you. Bottom here, we were at IFRI, talking to one of the people working there, and she was also a TA at some point at Williams College. So that was pretty neat to have that connection still. Yeah, so we got to also keep in touch with alumni at Paris, and I think I want to talk about the class itself. When we're thinking of all these 12 students coming in and everyone is like a different major, I'm a women's gender and sexuality studies major, and I was thinking of doing theater or arts. And I was in a class with econ majors and comp-sci majors and environmental science major, and it was just really interesting to have a cohort that really reflects what the college looks like. Because when I'm in my Bridges classes, I'm in my own playing field, and the rules in the class are known by everyone of what we're going to talk about, what is okay to talk about, how are we going to look at the world with a Bridges lens. And to come into this class and then be like, okay, let me sit down, also humble myself, learn from the other majors who are sitting there. And this was a really, really cool experience to have 12 different majors sitting in the class and talking about global issues and using global frameworks. And I personally learned a lot, like from economic models or from data science and data theory and how we can use all of that together with feminist frameworks as well. And also because what my world is going to look like after I graduate is probably going to be me talking in a room with people who don't look at things with my Bridges lens either. So that was really important for me to understand how to have a dialogue, how to sit together, and how to use our collective knowledge on this campus for good. Also in Paris, I personally was able to do an internship with UNESCO, and we were working with Juliet, she was a alumni from class of 2012, so we got to work on the Happy Schools project with her, and my thesis this year is about joyful pedagogy and how to use pedagogy for liberation, using feminist frameworks within it. So Global Scholars has definitely contributed a lot in terms of like helping me shape my research, but also helping me just realize that I can do the research the way I want to and giving me that confidence. I was also coming in from Mumbai, India. I'm an international student. So just having a cohort where we do look at like global issues and have a global outlook made me feel more welcome on campus as well. But it's also giving us an inbuilt friends group and an inbuilt cohort where we keep in touch with college and also keep in touch with the alumni who've already passed out of this college. So that was also a very important component for me. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Alex Ramirez. I'm a senior from the Bay Area of California, and I'm a Spanish political science and Latinx studies major, and a global scholar. I think what I mainly want to focus on as one of the highlights of my experience has truly been, I think, the support and the mentorship that we get through this program. For me, personally, what resonated listening to my fellow scholars is, for now, so we're now seniors. We took this trip 2 years ago, and the incredible resources and support that we were able to take advantage of, I think especially looking back, feels really, really impressive. As sophomores at Williams College from every different department, every different division, several different departments, the 12 of us, we were able to access these institutions that I think leverage a lot of power and are having some of the most important questions maybe in the world. The OECD, UNESCO, UN, these are massive global organizations, and as sophomore undergraduates, we got to hold internships at these institutions. For me, that's stunning. And coming back as a senior, going through the methodology and the practice of holding an internship at UNESCO, conducting research independently and managing your own funds, working with a mentor one-on-one, are experiences that I think are maybe universal to the undergraduate experience, hopefully, but that we got to take advantage of in our sophomore year. And I think jump-starting those processes and continuing to be able to take advantage of these connections, speaking to our alumni community, the alumni community has made a massive difference in our experience as scholars. Every time we go to a new city, there is a resource of Williams alumni who are more than eager to help us out, and it makes a difference. I think it makes the world maybe feel a little bit smaller, maybe makes the Williams bubble shrink a little bit, and I think speaks to the influence that these institutions can have when they leverage their resources to really focus on global questions and having a global impact.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Debenham, and I am a political science major and a French concentrator. And just to finish off the spiel here, I think something that now hearing everyone speak, something that's a real through line is each of us have different interests, we come from different places, we speak different languages, and this program is meant as an additive force that really makes more serious and more thoughtful what each of us does. It in no way constrains us in one certain direction, but we each are able to find the support and the resources that we need to pursue the things that interest us and excite us. And so I want to talk a little bit more about my thesis and the research component of the program. So as sophomores, every sophomore cohort in April or May of the sophomore year holds a Global Scholars Symposium in which every sophomore stands up, presents a very serious and thoughtful proposal of their research, and then has to defend it in front of professors and department heads, and I think President Mandel was there and other students as well. And so as a Williams sophomore, I don't even know if we had officially declared our majors yet, and yet we were up there on a stage having to speak about what interests us and tell other people why they should care about it too. And speaking to a lot of my friends right now, other seniors who are pursuing theses, I think it feels a little bit disjointed or hard to come in as a senior without having a real ramp up or having thought about these things for a long time and decide what one wants to pursue their thesis on. But one of the real benefits of this program is that we have been thinking about this research for 3 years, and I find that a lot of the choices that I've made since this Global Scholars Symposium, having been able to consider my interests and my research areas, I have been able to make choices that have been so beneficial in leading me to where I am now pursuing this thesis. And so at this sophomore symposium, I thought really hard about what I was interested in, about French security, about North African governance, about looking at the relationship in the Mediterranean between France and North Africa. That definitely helped inform the courses that I chose to take at Williams my junior fall, and then very significantly where I chose to study abroad in southern France, on the Mediterranean, and in a real area of migration, of diasporas, and of post-colonial history. And that experience, studying abroad, doing research, has just completely transformed my work, my thesis, the contacts I have, the questions that I've asked. And looking back at that 3-year engagement, it all fits into place, and I think all of us would agree that we've been pushed to be really thoughtful and serious about the work that we're doing and why we're doing it. And as seniors now, for all of us, it has just paid off and made all the difference in our research. Thank you so much.
Thank you all, 4 of you. As you can see, the program has meant a tremendous amount to the students. They bring very different strengths, they bring very different curiosities and points of inquiry, points of departure to the program. They all contribute to one another's learning and to the life of the college in really exciting ways. Thank you.
We do have time for some questions. All right. Mic runner will come to you. Thank you, Wendy. Oh, we have one question here. Sorry. Yep.
Yes, thank you. This has been a very interesting array of different opportunities here, and we have kind of like the lucky 12 from one class here, and if I remember the slides, 500 or 600 students doing locally different kinds of internship or experiential learning opportunities. My question is, for those folks who don't have the structure of something like a Global Scholars Program or the Mystic Program, where it's a semester-long or year-long or multi-year-long program, are there opportunities for people to structure or propose independent experiential learning opportunities? And the other aspect of the question is, for those folks that are doing the local internships or working with local communities, is there any mechanism whereby they can synthesize or sort or reflect on their opportunities, or to just have the experience and then fold it into their ongoing education?
Is this on?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is it? I don't know if it's on.
It's on. Yep.
Okay. Great. So students do have opportunities to pursue their own projects if they're not in the Mystic or Global Studies program. They can always do an independent, there's so many pathways. They can always do an independent study under the guidance of a faculty member. There are many internships, both over winter study, experiential courses, and special projects that they can design and do in the community through a variety of different classes. There are summer Sentinels research projects that happen that students do. I think that was one that Stan did over the summer for the Rail Initiative. So if a student has an idea, the Center for Learning and Action, we work with them to find a faculty mentor, to connect them to the resources in the community, and to design something a vehicle that will let them work on the project that they're interested in.
Yeah, I would just add that the traditional Winter Study 99 program is still going strong. Students are currently working up independent proposals for independent projects for winter study period, and we're vetting them. That's a terrific opportunity for a student to develop an idea for an independent proposal for an independent project, an internship, immersive language study, some kind of research project in the States or abroad, and carry it out in an academic context for winter study credit.
What I'd like to know is, all of you are seniors, what is it that you want to do with what you have experienced when you get out there in the big bad world? And maybe just each of you quickly tell us.
Here, we can pass it. It's a big question. I want to work for the regional office of an international organization that works on migration, exile, and displacement, like the UN's Office of Migration in Europe or in Africa. And then eventually, hopefully, assume some sort of leadership US position that directs policy in the US, policy on governance, policy on security, policy on peace.
I don't have as direct of an answer. That might not come as a surprise. What I might spend this time instead doing is letting you know about one more thesis project. I'm working on a project analyzing the intersection of AI and transportation systems in the Bay Area. So my last internship was with a metropolitan planning organization that planned out where those railways would go. But for the future, maybe ask again in a year.
I mean, before I came to Williams, I didn't really think I could major in women's gender studies. Like, that was not a thing back home for me. So I'm just really open to what other doors open for me. But I am a dialogue facilitator and a conflict mediator. I work with Seeds of Peace. They work primarily in Maine, and we work on facilitating dialogues for youth from conflict regions like India, Pakistan, Israel, and Palestine. So that's something I'm already doing right now. And if nothing else, I know I'm going to continue doing that and maybe add academia to the mix and add arts to the mix. But yeah, thank you for the question.
Yeah, I think as for now, as a history major, I'm very interested in these notions of immigration and displacement. As for career goals, I do hope to go to law school sometime in the near future and kind of see if I can pursue immigration law. I think that would be a really cool opportunity, but definitely also still figuring some things out, but yeah.
Thank you so much for the question. So immediately after, right now I'm actually, right after this, I have my interview for the Fulbright program, so hopefully I'll be in Taiwan next year. But a little more long term, so this summer I was interning at Mass General Hospital doing research, and it put me on the trajectory because I came into Williams being political science because I really loved making maps, gerrymandering, that kind of stuff, very relevant right now. But I've changed, obviously. So right now I hope to pursue an MD PhD and continue research, but especially the health of immigrant and minority populations, especially with things like proteins, the gut biome, things that you don't really think about, right? It's like, oh, how is it that culture really influences our health and the miracles that happen as people move around the world? So thank you for that question.
A few more years. All right, we have time for one last question.
Just to let you know, in our class, which is class of 76, we have, actually 75 and 76. Debbie, what class is, never mind. We have some immigration lawyers who are very practiced and effective. Unfortunately, we had one classmate who was wasn't Joe Joe Senna, an immigration lawyer, and unfortunately he died. Not too. Ted Cox? Yeah, 75, yeah, thank you.
All right, one last formal question. Here we go, Neil.
What you do sounds so great. Has there been any discussion of how to expand it to more students on campus than you're already doing?
You mean me? all of us? Certainly. I mean, yes, there's so much to love about the Global Scholars Program. The downside currently is that it's limited to 12 students per year. So the faculty involved talk a lot about the desirability of making it available to more students. We'd really very much like to see that happen.
At Williams Mystic, we have a limit on the number of beds available, but we have also begun a climate and community leaders program that students apply to, Williams students can apply to, and we align them with internships that are aligned with their interests and strengths, and in a similar manner to Global Scholars, we have research symposia and winter study programs for them as well. So that's something that we are doing with additional Williams students.
I would say that CLiA tries to be out for the students and very accessible. So we table in Paresky every week. We run a multitude of programs, a spectrum from one-time volunteer engagements to sustained, serious research. So we have a variety of things, and students know where to find us. I mean, we're right there all the time, so we have a lot going on.
Right, well, go ahead, please.
Also, the students in these programs are very aware about maybe the exclusivity that it might. Oh, thank you. About the exclusivity that it might give off, and that's always a conversation that we are also having as global scholars specifically, but I'm pretty sure it can apply to everyone on that stage as well. And something that I remember us talking was that we are the first ever cohort to be doing this, so a lot of the traditions that we've been setting up was us just like having a blueprint for the next generation at this point. And we also look at ourselves as an experiment that we would love to expand to the larger class. So just starting with 12 students right now, but then how do we make it a bigger endeavor? And also the global salons that we had on one of the slides before is one of the ways that global scholars have been trying to reach out and using our resources and funding that we have to bring speakers to campus and keep events that are open to the entire campus, but also open to having partnership with other students. But that's a question that's also constantly in our mind and on our mind. So we would also love, obviously, feedback and if you have any ideas. So yeah, thank you for that question. That's a very important one.
It is definitely, I think, a question that we're wrestling with. One thing I also want to do is highlight some of our fellow scholars, because I think a lot of these conversations about how to make the resources that we're able to access accessible to the rest of the Williams community are the questions we're asking ourselves. Specifically, I wanted to highlight Maya Prakash and Rem Johanyekt, both in our senior class, but who started a global symposium program on campus where many of the same contexts that we were able to access in Paris or in New York City came to Williams and made themselves available to the greater Williams community. So that, I think it is a special program, and we are the ones who definitely take the most advantage. But second access to the president of Iceland, for example, still seems pretty good when, when available to everybody else.
What proportion of Williams students do some sort of one or more experiential learning? Can you repeat that?
The question was holistically, what percentage of students are doing some sort of experiential learning? It's a good statistic for our institutional research friends.
Yeah, that would be, I would say we have at least 1 in 4 doing something with CLiA during a year, and over the course of their 4 years, I think many more than just a quarter. So, but I don't have that exact number.
In the research we did for our class gift in 1976, in experiential learning, working with Don Schauer from the ACES program, he had told us that over the course of 4 years, 90% of students will take at least one internship.
So there you go. There's 90% for internships and a few. Yep. Beautiful. Well, let's give our speakers a real round of applause.